Picture a crisp autumn evening in the Welsh countryside. Rolling hills, painted in hues of gold and crimson, stretch as far as the eye can see. A gentle breeze whispers through the valleys, carrying the scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. On this seemingly ordinary Monday, the tranquility is about to be shattered. Two trains journey through this idyllic landscape, carrying passengers on their daily commute. Unbeknownst to them, fate has a tragic encounter in store, one that will forever scar this peaceful evening. At approximately 7:30 p.m. near the quaint village of Llanbrynmair, the unthinkable happens. Two trains, one travelling from Shrewsbury to Aberystwyth, the other from Machynlleth to Shrewsbury, collide on a single track line. The impact is deafening, sending shockwaves through the surrounding countryside. Carriages, once symbols of everyday travel, now lie mangled and derailed. The air fills with the deafening sound of sirens as emergency services race to the scene. Amidst the twisted metal and shattered glass, a desperate fight for survival begins. News of the train collision spreads like wildfire, casting a shadow over the entire nation. The initial shock gives way to profound sadness as the tragic toll of the incident becomes clear. One life lost, 15 others injured. Families are left devastated, their lives irrevocably altered by this senseless tragedy. As investigators begin the arduous task of piecing together what went wrong, questions linger in the air. How could this have happened on a modern railway network? What systemic failures or human errors led to this catastrophic event? And most importantly, how can we prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again? It's early evening, the sun beginning its descent, casting long shadows across the Welsh countryside. At Shrewsbury station, passengers board the train bound for Aberystwyth. Among them are commuters heading home after a long day, families looking forward to a relaxing evening, perhaps students returning to university after a weekend away. Meanwhile, at Machynlleth station, another train prepares for its journey, this one headed for Shrewsbury. The atmosphere on both trains is typical of any ordinary commute. A mixture of quiet anticipation, low conversations, and the gentle hum of anticipation as the trains pull away from their respective stations. The passengers, lost in their own thoughts, are oblivious to the tragedy that awaits them. Seconds to impact, a fateful encounter. As the two trains travel along the single track line, they approach a passing loop, a section of track designed to allow trains traveling in opposite directions to pass each other safely. It's a routine maneuver, one that occurs countless times daily on railway networks across the world. But this time something goes terribly wrong, whether due to human error, mechanical failure, or a combination of factors. One of the trains fails to stop at the designated point. The realization dawns on both drivers simultaneously. A head-on collision is imminent. In the carriages, passengers are jolted from their reverie by the sudden, jarring application of the brakes. The impact is deafening, the force of the collision sending shockwaves through both trains. Carriages, once filled with the mundane rhythms of travel, are now transformed into a scene of chaos and terror. Metal screams against metal as carriages derail, some toppling onto their sides. Inside the carriages, passengers are thrown violently from their seats. The air fills with the cries of the injured, the disorientation of sudden darkness, and the dust of shattered glass and debris. The tranquil Welsh countryside is now a scene of frantic activity. Emergency services, alerted by frantic calls from survivors and witnesses, race to the scene of the train crash. Ambulances, their sirens wailing, navigate the narrow country roads leading to the site near Llanbrynmair. Firefighters, armed with heavy-duty cutting equipment, work tirelessly to free passengers trapped within the mangled wreckage. Paramedics, their faces etched with concern, tend to the injured, prioritizing those in critical condition. As news of the train crash spreads, a wave of shock and disbelief washes over the nation. Politicians, their voices somber, express their condolences and pledge their support to the victims and their families.
The British Transport Police, tasked with investigating the cause of the accident, have launched a full-scale inquiry. Questions abound, but answers remain elusive in the immediate aftermath of the tragedy.
Amidst the devastation and despair, stories of extraordinary courage and compassion begin to emerge. Passengers, despite their own injuries, help others to safety, sharing water, blankets, and words of comfort. Local residents, alerted to the crash by the sound of the impact or the sight of smoke rising in the distance, rush to the scene to offer assistance. They open their homes to those displaced by the accident, providing food, shelter, and a listening ear. In the face of tragedy, the indomitable spirit of humanity shines through.
The force of the sudden stop ripped the table I was using from its bolts, sending me crashing to the floor. Dazed and disoriented, I found myself surrounded by the wreckage of the train carriage, the air thick with dust and the smell of burning. Narrator. Media. Dust-filled train carriage with burning smell, passenger surrounded by wreckage and smoke, laptop amidst train wreckage. Anthony Herford, a passenger on the Aberystwyth train, never expected his ordinary commute to end in such a terrifying ordeal. He was engrossed in his laptop, the rhythmic clatter of the train tracks a familiar background hum when the brakes slammed on, throwing him forward.
In the aftermath of the crash, both Anthony and Ifan, along with the other passengers and witnesses, were left in shock.
Anthony described the experience as brutal, the sudden transition from a normal journey to a life-threatening situation, leaving him deeply shaken.
The realization of what had happened, the sight of the injured and the sound of sirens created a surreal and terrifying atmosphere. As emergency services arrived and began the grim task of rescuing those trapped, a sense of uncertainty hung heavy in the air. In the immediate aftermath of the tragedy, the British Transport Police, BTP, descended upon the crash site, their mission clear to determine what went wrong on that fateful evening. The investigation, complex and multifaceted, involved a meticulous examination of the wreckage, analysis of data recorders from both trains, and interviews with witnesses, passengers, and railway staff.
Every piece of evidence, from the position of the trains to the condition of the tracks, was crucial in piecing together the sequence of events leading up to the collision. The investigators, acutely aware of the weight of their task, worked tirelessly, their every move scrutinized by a nation grappling with grief and demanding answers.
Early on in the investigation, the focus shifted to the passing loop, that seemingly innocuous stretch of track where trains traveling in opposite directions could pass each other safely. The passing loop, a standard feature on single track lines, relied on a complex system of signals and points to direct trains onto the correct track.
Investigators meticulously examined the signals, the points, and the track itself, searching for any signs of malfunction or damage that could have contributed to the accident. The data recorders from both trains, akin to black boxes on an airplane, held crucial information about the train's speed, braking, and any communications between the drivers and signalers in the moments leading up to the impact. As days turned into weeks, the investigation continued, the BTP releasing periodic updates while cautioning against speculation. The families of the deceased and the injured waited anxiously, their grief compounded by the agonizing wait for answers. The train crash, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the potential for human error or mechanical failure to have catastrophic consequences, had shaken the nation's faith in the safety of its rail network. The investigation, though painstakingly slow, held the promise of uncovering the truth, of providing answers to the many unanswered questions, and of preventing such a tragedy from ever happening again. The tranquility of Llanbrynmair, a village nestled amidst the rolling hills of Wales, was shattered on that fateful October evening. The train crash, occurring so close to home, shook the community to its core, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of its residents. In the days following the tragedy, the village hall became a hub of activity. a place of solace and support for those directly affected by the crash and for the community as a whole.
Villagers, their faces etched with grief and concern, gathered to share stories, offer condolences, and provide practical assistance to those in need.
Section 2: Ripple Effects. The impact on Wales and beyond. The train crash in Llanbrynmair sent shockwaves far beyond the borders of the small Welsh village. Across Wales, flags flew at half-mast as a mark of respect for the victim and in solidarity with the injured and their families. The incident sparked a national conversation about railway safety, with politicians, transport officials, and industry experts vowing to learn from the tragedy and prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. The crash served as a stark reminder of the importance of investing in infrastructure, maintaining rigorous safety standards, and fostering a culture of vigilance within the railway industry. Section 3: The Call for Change, Safety in the Spotlight. The train crash in Llanbrynmair ignited a fierce debate about railway safety, prompting calls for increased investment in infrastructure, stricter regulations, and a renewed focus on human factors in train operations. Passenger groups, their voices amplified by the tragedy, demanded greater transparency from railway operators and urged authorities to prioritize safety over profit. The incident highlighted the inherent risks associated with single-track lines, particularly in areas with high traffic volumes or challenging terrain. The investigation into the Llanbrynmair crash, though still ongoing, promised to yield valuable lessons that could help prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future, not just in Wales, but on railway networks around the world. Section 1: A community scarred, a nation reflecting the tranquility of the Welsh countryside, forever etched in our minds as the backdrop of this tragedy, now bears the weight of sorrow. Llanbrynmair, a village known for its picturesque landscapes and close-knit community, will forever remember the day its peace was shattered. The scars of this incident run deep, a somber reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating consequences of when safety fails. Beyond the immediate impact on this small Welsh community, the train crash has prompted a nation to reflect. The incident has ignited conversations about the importance of robust safety protocols, the need for continuous improvement in railway infrastructure, and the crucial role of human vigilance in preventing such tragedies. While nothing can erase the pain and loss suffered, the hope remains that the lessons learned from this tragedy will lead to meaningful changes, ensuring that such an incident never happens again. Section 2: The Unanswered Questions. A longing for closure. As the investigation continues, many questions remain unanswered. The families of the deceased and the injured wait patiently, their grief intertwined with a desperate need for closure. They deserve to know exactly what happened on that fateful evening, what chain of events led to the loss of their loved ones, and what steps will be taken to prevent such a tragedy from recurring. The investigators, tasked with this immense responsibility, face the daunting task of piecing together the events leading up to the crash. They must analyze every detail, from the mechanical condition of the trains to the actions of the drivers, in order to provide a comprehensive and transparent account of what transpired. The search for answers is not simply about assigning blame, it's about understanding the systemic failures, the human errors, or the unforeseen circumstances that contributed to this tragedy. Only through a thorough and impartial investigation can we hope to learn from this devastating event and work towards a future where train travel is safer for everyone. Section 3: Remembering the Victims, a legacy of loss and lessons learned. In the wake of this tragedy, it's essential to remember the human cost. A life was lost, a void left in the hearts of those who loved him. 15 others carry the physical and emotional scars of that day, their lives forever altered. Let their experiences serve as a poignant reminder that safety is not a given, but a responsibility shared by all involved in the rail industry. As we move forward, let the memory of this tragic event fuel our commitment to creating a safer railway network. Let us honor the victims by demanding better safety standards, supporting ongoing investigations, and advocating for a culture of vigilance within the industry. The train crash in Llanbrynmair is a stark reminder that even in our modern world, tragedy can strike when we least expect it. Let us learn from this devastating event, working together to ensure that such an incident never happens again. May the memory of those lost serve as a guiding light, illuminating the path towards a future where rail travel is safe, reliable, and free from the shadow of such heartbreak.